Hey guys, Angry MGTOW here. And dating service OkCupid has announced its support for 22 genders. What in the world is happening? What's happening? 22 genders. It's just like, you know, they're just going to keep marching forward even as the world continues to collapse, even as feminism continues to die, even as the social justice warriors are being put out of society. They're not going to go down easy. They're going to go down yelling and screaming. We can see that already. I'm going to show you guys this image. So, as you can see, this is an image that's been circulating recently. OkCupid has been sending this out to all of their members. And it says, at OkCupid, we believe that judging others based on their sex, religion, country of origin, orientation is un-American. There is no room for intolerance. Instead, we've celebrated individuality in all its various forms since we were founded. Our users live in 214 countries around the world. They identify as 22 genders and 13 orientations. They are Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, atheists, Buddhists, and agnostics. Where's Jedi's? You guys say that you're open to everyone. Where's Jedi? Because Jedi is a religion. You could even claim that on your tax returns. But okay. We strongly believe that America's history of welcoming others not only represents the best of American values, but it also defines our core. It also defines the core of what has made our country the great place it is, and has been. Love, not hate, is the solution. OkCupid is open to all individuals. Thanks for making OkCupid a welcoming place. Now, I just have to say, I think this is a load of crock. This is a load of crock. Because, first off, it's saying that basically, if you're going to use their service, you have to just understand you better not disagree with that whole 22 genders thing or 13 orientations, or else this is not the place for you. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. 22 genders? 22 genders. There are others who said there are 22 genders listed here. Don't forget, in New York, they have 73 protected genders that cannot be discriminated against. And there's a person on YouTube. I did a video about her recently, Miley Stewart. I think that's her name. She says that there is a gender expression for every person on the planet. In other words, there are potentially billions of different genders. Billions of different genders. These aren't genders, they are mental illnesses. So what I see here is OkCupid essentially trying to say that they support mental illness. They support 20 different mental illnesses. Because there are only two genders. So they support 20 different mental illnesses, and that list is likely to grow. This is the legacy of Barack Obama. This is the legacy of Barack Obama. Before he was president, this type of shit was not happening. I mean, we had some crazy shit. But after 8 years of Obama, we have terrorists acting like babies, saying they're being discriminated against. You heard me right. Terrorists saying they're being discriminated against. Terrorists. You have men, especially white men, being destroyed and demonized simply for existing. For existing. I have to say that Barack Obama, in my opinion, was one of the most hateful men ever. One of the most hateful men ever. Ever. This is the legacy of Barack Obama. This is the legacy of Barack Obama. This crap right here. 22 genders. 20 mental illnesses. That's what they are. And like I said, the SJWs aren't going to go down easy. They're going to keep yelling and screaming and kicking all the way to the end. All the way to the end. Even as shit hits the fan, people can't afford food, life is becoming miserable, the SJWs will continue to scream discrimination, to say they want equality, and all that other shit. I just look at this nonsense and I think to myself that society is really fucked. Feminism has created a society where no one is going to want to have anything to do with anyone else. The opposite sex is literally becoming just that, opposites of each other, where we just can't stand being around each other. Men are becoming so effeminate these days that they can't actually stand up and make masculine decisions, be responsible, or actually take care of themselves or a family. The article that Milo Yiannopoulos wrote a few years ago called The Sexodus is very true, because a lot of men are simply giving up on society. And women thought that they were going to take over society, but in reality it was the upper class, or middle to upper class women who were co-opting society. Those were the women who were co-opting society. Middle upper class white women. While everyone else at the bottom was suffering. You know, women didn't understand basic economics that, sure, you might have a board that has 10 men on it. But those 10 men are the men who had something to actually do with the company. Meaning coming together to pool resources to build the company. Or they're responsible for helping the wealth of the company to grow. The point is that the people at the top of the company and the people at the bottom of the company are not equal. Not by far. They don't really give a damn about them. So men working at the bottom of the company are dealing with the same things that women working at the bottom are. The people at the top of the company, just because they're men, doesn't mean anything. You replace all the men with women at the top of a company, and the only difference is that now you have a less productive board. That's all. It's always hilarious whenever you see a company that talks about having an all-female board of directors, because that's a company that's going to go to hell. That's a company that's not going to succeed. Because when women come together, they become catty, illogical, irrational, emotional, and they make bad decisions. That is something that we've seen, and it hasn't changed. And when you look at the way society is going right now, it's going to keep heading in this sickening direction. Don't get me wrong. I said feminism is dead in 2017, and it is. It's dead. But in 2018, the feminists won't know they're dead. As society is moving on, they won't know they're dead. They're going to keep yelling and screaming. I will tell you guys one thing. Donald Trump has been moving at the speed of light, has he not? Within like a week of becoming president, he announced the wall, the building of his wall, the repeal of Obamacare. And within 2 weeks, a ban from various countries, predominantly Muslim. He's moving at the speed of light. Speed of light. My point is, what happens the very moment he decides to address college campuses and the crap that's happening on college campuses and the toxic nature of college campuses, and says that he's going to cut funding? See, when Donald Trump strikes, he doesn't go small, he goes big. And don't think he's bluffing. Don't think he's bluffing. Don't think he's bluffing, because we've all seen he will hold through. And I honestly think it's highly possible that he's going to begin cutting funding to many of these universities that possibly even have gender studies programs. He's going to say something along the lines of, what the hell is gender studies? A woman stood up and said to Donald Trump, when you're president, will you advocate for women to make the same amount of money as men? And Donald Trump responded to her by saying, if you do as good of a job, you'll get paid the same amount. If you do as good of a job, you'll get paid the same amount. That's what he said to her. Donald Trump has hired lots of women. He's also fired lots of women. I'll tell you something interesting. I don't know if you guys remember the early seasons of The Apprentice. The early seasons of The Apprentice, before Ivanka became his assistant on The Apprentice, there was another woman, and she was like the CEO of one of his golf courses, or assistant vice president, whatever. She was in charge of one of his big golf courses, and she was helping him to run them and a number of other things. And she would also help to decide who would end up going on and be hired to work for Donald Trump at the end of each season of The Apprentice. And the funny thing is, fast forward maybe two or 3 years later, I think it was 2 years later, he fired her. He fired her because she was becoming too wrapped up in her new fame on The Apprentice and not taking her job running the course seriously. He has no problem firing a woman if she's not getting her job done, even if he knows her very well, even if they've been friends for a number of years. He has no problem firing them. I remember watching an interview Ivanka Trump did a number of years ago. She said that she was driving, and then her father comes on the radio, and I forget if it was Howard Stern, but he was talking to someone was interviewing him, and they said to him, so if your children mess up, will you fire them? And what does Donald Trump says? He says, of course I would, like a dog. Donald Trump said that if his kids fucked up, he would fire them like a dog. And Ivanka was she was just like so taken back by that. She said, and he said, like a dog. How could he say something like that? You know, why did he have to say like a dog? He would fire them like a dog. He would fire Ivanka like a dog. Like a dog. And, you know, it just goes to show that at the end of the day, despite all the feminist nonsense, despite all of that crap, women don't realize where they're headed, where society is headed right now, where there's going to be massive pullback, where they're going to lose many privileges, where society is running out of money. The very notion that somehow we're going to start taxing more people. Donald Trump has discussed lowering taxes. The only way to save Social Security is to raise taxes. Like I said in another video, Social Security will completely run out of money. The Social Security Trust Fund will completely run out of money in 2034. And at that point, they'll only have enough money they'll only be able to pay Social Security based on payroll taxes. And those payroll taxes will only equate to about 75%. 75% of all Social Security benefits. Furthermore, if there's a recession, if there's any downturns, which always happens, a recession always happens. Like every 20, 30 years, there's another recession. Every 20, 30 years, there's a recession. There is. I mean, we had one in the 80s. We had one in the 2000s. There's always a recession every 20 or 30 years, pretty much. It's like clockwork. So, when you factor that in, when you think about those statistics very carefully, we'll probably have another recession before this. Okay? No matter how good of a job Trump does, we're going to have another recession. Another recession's coming. And based on that recession, it will actually it will do one of two things. If we have another recession before 2034, it will deplete the amount of money currently available in the Social Security Trust even faster. Or, if we have a recession after 2034, when the fund money has already run out, This means that they'll have to cut payroll, they'll have to cut Social Security benefits even further. Because, again, they'll only be... It's a psychotic idea where you're literally... It's like living paycheck to paycheck. Guys, it's a psychotic idea that in 2034, all Social Security benefits will literally be paid. You hear me? Hear me out. Will be paid based on payroll taxes. Payroll taxes. So, for example, whatever we take in, we're putting out. There's no trust. There's nothing. It's all about whatever you take in, you put out. It's literally living paycheck to paycheck. If people lose their jobs, there's not enough money going into Social Security. The less money going into Social Security, the less money there is to pay for people. It's literally based on the economy at that point. Social Security will literally be based on the economy at that point. And as more people retire, as Generation X begins to retire, if they don't cut off Social Security for Generation X, guys, it is frightening. It is frightening because then payments will have to go down even lower. Right now, they'll only be able to pay out 75% to the boomers. If Generation X retires, then at that point, payouts will be somewhere like around 50%, even less than 50%. I mean, it'll be startlingly low. Again, Social Security is dead. Privileges are dead. Food stamps are dead. Trump is going to just come out of nowhere, my friends. It's going to look like it's coming out of nowhere. The reason why a lot of this stuff hasn't happened yet is because a lot of his cabinet picks have not been confirmed by the Senate and House yet. They haven't been confirmed by Congress yet. Many of his Senate picks have not been confirmed by Congress yet. Most of them. To date, something like only 2 or 3 of his picks have been confirmed. Probably 2. And that's one of the reasons why some things haven't happened yet. Like, for example, Section 8 hasn't been cut yet because Ben Carson hasn't been confirmed yet, as far as I know. And, again, a lot of things have not happened yet because they have not made his confirmations yet. As soon as those confirmations come in, it's going to accelerate things. Like I said, food stamps are going to go. A time limit is going to be announced for food stamps. If you've been on food stamps for 10 years, you're going to have to get off. They might give you a few weeks, but to be honest with you, Trump might just take them away immediately. You've been on food stamps for 10 years? 10 years. 10 years. Can you imagine that? If you ask the average American if they think that people should be allowed to stay on food stamps and Section 8 for their entire lives, or for 10 years or more than 10 years, or even for 5 years, do you think people are going to agree with that? Very few Americans are going to agree with that. I honestly think that people will qualify for food stamps probably for as long as 2 years at most. Although it could become as little as 6 months. And I think that's probably a better idea. You qualify for food stamps for 6 months, just like you get unemployment for 6 months. You get 6 months to get your shit together, and then move on with your life. I don't think that's a bad idea. You get 6 months to get your shit together. You get 6 months of handouts, and then move on. Figure something else out. In that time, you can find someone to live with. Move into a shelter that provides you with these things. Again, figure something out. But you're not going to live off the government, or should I say the dollar of the American people anymore. This is the direction that we're headed in. It's not a game. It's the future. And I've said it already that women brought this future onto themselves with their bad behavior, with their 22 genders, or 20 mental illnesses, with all the crazy crap that they've done, the destruction of men, especially attacking white males in society. Women brought this onto themselves. They made their beds and now they're going to have to lay in them. And no one will feel sorry for them. This is the reality of things. And honestly, it's not going to change. It's just going to keep going downhill for women. They are going to cry bloody murder and no one is going to care. That is the new reality of things. That is the new reality of things. You guys have to I'm looking at something. RT Gaming 1016 says, Angry MGTOW. MGTOW is spreading on 4chan and 8chan. Should I go and convert the alt-right? I could infiltrate and the alt-right and convert them. Let me tell you guys something. 4chan is a group of trolls. 8chan, that's a group of trolls. This younger generation, many of these young kids, they have literally been attacked and bombarded with don't rape women since they were still in elementary school. So many of these young men are so pissed off, are so so chastised. They're saying, you know what? You think you're a narcissist? We can be narcissist. We can be narcissist and simply have nothing to do with women. We'll just go MGTOW. Guys, I've said this already. Once the kids start going MGTOW and saying the new cool thing is not to have anything to do with girls, it is going to raise a lot of bells in the anti-feminist community. There's going to be a lot of people who say, well, it's not a bad idea, because, the boys are just focusing on themselves. That means that they're focusing on school, they'll be more confident. But on the other hand, there are going to be those who say, this is just a woman-hating thing. It's just boys, it's just a cult of men trying to brainwash these boys and teach them how to hate women, and we need to stop it right now. The irony is that you cannot stop MGTOW. And if you take these group of young men and stick them in a room and tell them all the reasons why they should not be MGTOWs or why they should not go their own way and explain their male privilege to them and start pushing more of the social justice narrative down their throats, they're all going to walk out the room screaming MGTOW. The more you attack them for being men, if you attack them for being MGTOW, it'll only make them more MGTOW. This is what these social justice lunatics don't realize. They are literally creating their own misery. They are literally dismantling their own future. And they don't even know it. Because they are so far gone in their cult of indoctrination, their cult of victimization, that they can't see anything out of their echo chamber. That is a new world that we live in. And like I said, shit is going to hit the fan later this year. If and when Donald Trump, and I do believe he will, turns to universities and starts cutting funding for these gender studies programs. For these programs that are creating these little snowflakes. The controversial truth says, Angry MGTOW, yeah, but Angry, the dollar has less than 5% value left in it. It's going to crash either way. TV fiat currency. Guys, I keep talking about the Federal Reserve and the fact that we don't have all the money that we spend. And a lot of people don't understand how money works, that money doesn't grow on trees, that right now we're just literally printing money and it's based around goodwill. And we're just going to keep spending. It's coming back for us. The baby boomers were the most irresponsible generation in history. And we, their children and their grandchildren, are going to now suffer for their actions. This is what's falling upon us. This is what we have to expect. This is what we should be thanking them for. Their legacy is one of destruction. Now, I will say something interesting regarding a lot of this. The greatest generation, which is the generation before the baby boomers, they got that name because they're the ones who essentially fixed the problems that occurred in society. But don't forget that they were also one of the most narcissistic generations. What exactly do I mean by that? Well, let me point some things out. In the 1920s, people were living well outside of their means. They were living way outside of their means. Spending habits were ridiculous. So more or less, I shouldn't say it was the greatest generation, it was their parents. Many within the greatest generation, their parents were complete idiots who burnt everything away. The Roaring 20s is when people were literally saying, oh, there's money growing on trees. If you think movie stars today are insane, they were insane back then. I remember watching a film where it literally joked about, oh, here comes this movie star. She's just been married for the 7th time. This shit was happening back then as well. Hollywood was just as crazy and fanatical back then as it is now. They lived outside of their means, and then they found out that the economy was not as good as they believed it was. The stock market crashed. People jumped out of skyscrapers, taking their lives. And what do you expect? Now, here's the thing. After all of this happened, the children of these people, the children of this generation, they pretty much had to come. They had to fight in wars. They literally had to die, and they had to clean up the mess that their parents created. So they had to clean up the mess that their generation of baby boomers created, which was made up a lot of the suffragettes. Because don't forget, after the Civil War ended, you had the suffragettes roaming around demanding equal rights, the right to vote, blah, 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 blah. Social justice warriors. Let's also not forget about Prohibition and how damaging Prohibition was to society. Who was very responsible for Prohibition? Feminists were very responsible for Prohibition. And it had a damaging effect on society. So it's no surprise, or it should be no surprise to anyone, when I say that all the actions of feminists is going to come back for them, and they are going to end up suffering as a result of the things that they've done, as a result of the mistakes that they've made. They've made their beds, now they're going to have to lay in them. They're going to have to lay in them and deal with the repercussions of their actions. They chose this for themselves. But the thing is that they'll simply cry and say that it's not their fault. They'll cry and say it's not their fault for what has happened. It's just discrimination, and no one will care. Because at that point, everyone will just be struggling to survive. I want to know what you guys think in the comments section, if you agree that things are coming front and center, that shit is about to hit the fan, that Donald Trump will potentially shut down a lot of universities that allow social justice warriors and feminism to grow and foster. Also, please don't forget that you can help support my channel by heading over to my YouTube homepage or by looking for the link to my Patreon in the description, clicking on the link and becoming a Patreon and making a donation. Donations help to keep this channel going. I make 3 of these videos a day for you guys. So if you love, I love you. So if you love me, remember to help support this channel and keep it on the air. Also, don't forget that you can never miss another video from Angry MGTOW, another stream or video that I put out by enabling notifications. Click on the little notification button next to the subscribe button below any video on my channel. You'll see a pop-up that says send me all notifications for this channel. Check the box, hit save. If you've already done it, you don't have to do it again. When you've done this, you will always receive a notification whenever I'm live streaming or whenever I put out a new video. So guys, let me know if you agree that shit is about to hit the fan, and the Donald is going to literally give feminists and social justice warriors a spanking that they've so long deserved. Let me know what you think in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MGTOW or death. And cheers!